I thought that would be cool to kind of start off. I'm a big gear nerd, and I thought it would be cool to kind of explain the history of sampling and samplers and how the actual sampling units totally dictated the direction that, like, how hip-hop evolved and how hip-hop production evolved. So, like,
hey, yo, let me explain something.
I'm just fresh. We've run with wolves, we've climbed K2, even stopped a moving train. We've traveled through space and time, my friends, to rock this house again. Rah!
Typically the way that, like, I'll program my drums is you've got a kick, a hat, a snare, an open hat, and then I usually like to have a couple of ghost hits, sort of like something that isn't like a light snare, that isn't as hard as that. And then you can kind of, with those six sounds, you can usually the thing with the drums that a lot of people overlook is the whole idea of having the kind of the ghost hits. Those are sort of the things that make
Sidechaining is actually a really cool technique we should talk about quickly. It has more to do with mixing, but for example, you know, when I'm this beat I was just playing you, so there's a lot of things going on the low end. One of the ways that, you know, house producers make their sound, like their songs, they pump, right? There's like this, like you can feel it breathing almost, right? Like it's like there's like a hypnotic kind of pumping to it.
Now, I feel like.
Yeah. So how that's done, and again, it's done in subtle ways in songs, and I do this all the time when I'm mixing, and it's a great way to kind of, again, add, it's something that you feel more than you hear, but for example, let's say I have like a really, really heavy drum break going, and I lay in this hot bass line, but the bass line is kind of overpowering the drums, and the kick is getting kind of lost, and you know, it's just a little bit too much, but I really like the line, and I love the sound, the patch of it sounds really good. One thing you do is you do what's called side chaining. So you put a compressor on the bass line, and you have the kick drum channel trigger the compressor, so that every time the kick hits, the bass line gets ducked. The bass line
So, but now the other thing I do is I also do a lot of stuff for like soundtracks and video games. And when you're doing that, like there's no room at all to sample. Like if you get busted, your career's over and no one will ever hire you again. but a lot of people would hire me because they want that sound. So what I started doing is figuring out how I can actually write my own samples and write stuff that sounds like I sampled it off a record and chop it up and treat it like I sampled it off a record. So when you give it to them, they're like, where did you sample this? And I'm like, I didn't, I wrote it. And then it kind of, you can get away with it.
This kind of thing happens a lot to like Kanye's second record, even his first record, but this happens a lot where someone will sample something like, a big Motown record, and instead of, obviously they can't pay the money to clear it, there's two licenses you have to worry about. There's the actual master use, and then there's the what is the other one?
Sync, I think.
Sync license. One of them is the actual written notes, and the other one is the use of the actual recording itself. So what would happen is Kanye came in with his first record, and the sample and clearance budget for that record is like through the bloody roof. I mean, it's crazy because he's like the whole thing is samples, and he's sampling major artists. So what they did is they hired musicians to come in and do exactly what Pete's about to show you.
A crazy story recently about a guy from Toronto who goes by Deadmau5. He's more of like an electro house guy, but I heard a thing where he was talking about he went up onto the roof of his condo with a couple mics and just like stood there for 5 minutes and just recorded like the city, and then he layers that in and sidechains it, so like it has this sort of like you're actually hearing Toronto going every time the kick goes. I had never heard that before, but yeah, it's like you're listening to Toronto every time.
There's tons of, like, I was at Jazz Fest a couple years ago, and there was this girl, and I wish I knew her name. Maybe someone here know her name. She was this stand-up bass player, and she was singing. No, not the Grammy winner. This other girl, and, like, her whole set was incredible. Like, I wanted her album so bad, and for some reason I didn't get it. But I know, like, I don't know what she's doing, but, like, if I had approached her after the fact, said, yo, I love your record. I made, a couple things out of it. Would you be cool splitting publishing? I got a pretty good shot of her saying, okay,
Had a lot of good music.
That is fun stuff.